And here I am completely failing at a morning schedule, but hey, at least I get to look forward to Dolly Sods today. After coffee, that is, and breakfast. And welcome to my existence spread out on somebody else's floor. And now, after a hearty breakfast and a good amount of coffee, if not enough coffee, it is back to the trail. And I am back. It is cold. It is going to be down into the 30s tonight, but that is good because I think I have like 4,000 feet of gain today. My pack is distressingly heavy, but I haven't had beans, the instant refried beans, for a while, so I'm actually carrying 5 of those when I think I only really need 3 dinners plus a backup. Jerome also took me to a Mexican food restaurant and then breakfast this morning, so I have had more town food than I've had in a while. My nausea is still present, but I'm mostly doing okay. I don't know if using that filter the other day kind of triggered it again or what. Is what it is. He did give me a new filter, which I am very grateful for. So from here on out, there should be nothing contaminated, unless my CNOC, but I'm not getting rid of my CNOC. It's one of the glow-in-the-dark, like limited edition ones. When Jerome picked me up last night, I had basically been out of water and out of food for a couple of hours. Kept thinking I'd run into somebody who could top off my water, but as a result, my pack was pleasantly light for those last couple of miles. Got a solid 24-mile day in and finally stopped here, which is right at the end of one of these segments. The trail in some states are divided up into multiple segments, and I don't really understand where that comes from. And it plays havoc with me trying to get solid mileage numbers out here. But hey, that's what I get for trying to be a software engineer. As near as I can tell, I have about 12 miles of road walking. That does include about 2,000 miles walking up to that ridge you see up ahead, but all on roads. And then at the end of that 12 miles, I think it's actual trail. Dolly Sods Wilderness, which allegedly is a bit of a mud pit and involves quite a bit more gain. So my expectations as far as my mileage are somewhat tampered today. I've got plenty of food. I'm not worried about water, obviously. Now I've got that sorted. My supplies are good. And the next town is just another 50 or so miles, I think. And there's some ski resorts and things. The far side of Dolly Sods is actually within my usual 20-mile mileage. There's some paid campsite on the other side. But I'm basically figuring I'll just get to the far side of Dolly Sods, have an actual wilderness camp. Other than it getting down into the 30s at night, the weather doesn't look too bad for the next couple of days. Around Wednesday, the chance of rain comes back, but at least so far I haven't heard about any big storm systems moving in like what hit me in Delaware. Quite often when I kick off one of these trips, I've been in town for a while, and I go through phases. I mean, when I get back to town, I'm just ravenous for everything. When I'm leaving town, I usually want to try and get out to Mongolian and a couple other things that I know I'm not going to have while I'm on trail and eat those. But when I start a trip, most of the time I don't really care what the food is for the first couple of weeks. I'll do bars, I'll do trail mix, I'll do whatever. And then a change will happen. And that hit me post nausea here, or post worst of the nausea, where I'm craving a lot more sugar and salty things. I basically have a few emergency bars, but I trashed the last of my battered Cliff bars and went with things like, hot and spicy crackers and cookies and things like that. I had been dreaming of maybe getting like a loaf of bread or something to bring out, like a thing of French bread, since that's been sounding really good. Just strap it onto my pack. The other thing that I was hoping to get that I wasn't is just fresh carrots. Not the little baby carrots, but like the full-on big carrots. Those have been something that I really like as a snack. I got some as trail magic on the AT out in Pennsylvania, And ever since, whenever I can find ones that are reasonable, that has been one of my go-tos. You'll every now and then see the green ends sticking out of the back of my pack. So if I had not had Trail Angel support last night, this is listed as a community building. And apparently it's open, people have camped here. So that probably would have been my solution for the night. So I've now been out here about 3.5 weeks, and overall I've been pretty happy with how consistent I've been outside of the mystery illness. Up until then, I was feeling pretty good, and if I had made it this far, I might have actually like splurged and taken a 0 because my knee is taking a pounding. But unfortunately, with basically 5 zeros where I had no other choice, I am the better part of 100 miles behind where I'd hoped to be. Now again, my goals when it comes to the trip are more aspirational, just trying to get a sense of when I'll be where. I don't take zeros or other things into account. I'm not going to be trying to make up time or anything like that. I will just be happy if I am able to kind of slip back into the 20 miles a day. And then by the time I'm getting over to some of the flatter states on the far side of West Virginia, ideally I'll be able to get up to 25 plus a day instead of 20 plus a day. That's probably about where I'll max out. I've done 30s before, but that tends to be places like Oregon where it was just kind of ideal conditions and a long day and not any injury or anything that I was fighting at the time. The only reason I care about my daily mileage is just kind of to give me an indicator of how I'm moving. Because absent that, let me tell you, it gets hard to push on some days. When you come to a good camp at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or to force yourself out of town when you have a nice cheap hotel and you're getting to rest. And if I let myself, I would end up like a lot of people on the AT, where it's just zeros and vortices. And if that is the experience you are looking for, more power to you. Personally, I get a lot of enjoyment out of just the act of being moving. I mean, obviously when I'm carrying a heavy pack, I am working harder than if I'm just sitting there, but I also get to see so much as I'm walking. And my approach to gear has always been light enough where I'm not counting down to the next minute where I can drop my pack. I want to have enough where I'm independent, I have flexibility, I can do those 5+ day carries where I need to, but not so heavy where just every step is misery. Years ago, there was somebody involved with the wilderness class who just thought I hiked too fast. Didn't like the type trips. And would tell people this, like they weren't even trying to come onto my stuff. And the thing I eventually realized is they had a really big pack. For them, they idealized getting to a lake and sitting around because carrying the pack was just miserable for them. And, you know, if I'm carrying 60 pounds, it would be pretty miserable for me also. But Jen and I, you know, when we're walking, yeah, it's an exertion. Yes, this hill might be rough, but we managed to enjoy the act of moving, which is, if you ask me, kind of the headspace you need for any of these long trips. Because it's one thing if you just want to be out hiking for, you know, X number of weeks and enjoy the trail, whatever that is to you. But if you're trying to finish something, unless you're on the AT, which has such a wide weather window, you have to really try to kind of fail on that one. There is a time limit. And I saw people on the PCT 2 weeks after me who they spent just a little too much time coming off trail, resting and recovering along the way, and they were not able to get to the finish line. And that is a real bummer if you came out here and your goal was, oh, that's so cool, I want to walk from Mexico to Canada. If you're wondering why I'm gasping while I'm on relative flats, I'm trying to get my chattiness out of my system before I start the big climb up to that ridge on my right. Now we're talking. Technically, Dolly Sods starts somewhere along this road, but it's really the trail part that I'm kind of counting. It doesn't seem to be super long for as much as I've heard about this for miles and miles. And so yesterday I was on the other side of that ridge with the windmills. Man, almost chilly enough. I'm wishing for my long johns. Also, welcome back to Stealth Campability. Oh, so much better. The last couple of days I've been feeling warm and wishing it would get a little colder. And now it's colder and I'm having the opposite problem. Especially because it's this damp sort of cold. So I'm sweating, but I need to layer up. I actually stopped to put my long johns and everything on. This is why when I'm teaching the wilderness class and discussing layering, my whole layering technique is basically based around managing sweat and getting rid of moisture. Because that's the big thing, you know, insulating layers. Okay, this one's a little lighter, this one's a little heavier, but when you're dumping sweat into it, this fleece is worth its weight in gold because it vents and deals with moisture way better than almost any other fleece I've used. It has been car camping central up here. I'm really hoping there's more of this on the far side of the state. Good amount of traffic up here. Guess it is a weekend. And this is my sort of hill. Long, even grade, going up thousands of feet. I can generally do this stuff all day. I am totally getting AT vibes here. Yeehaw! Well, that wasn't so bad. And yeehaw! I have successfully achieved a parking lot. Oh man, going on the rainfall side. Other than it being bloody cold, this is nice. Okay, so there's a road walk halt for those that are doing something wheeled here, but at long last, I get to be on trail for a while. Oh, fun times. Getting Vermont flashbacks. This must have been fun after all those rains. I keep wanting to not do my full miles today just so I can camp out here. Oh, because stuff like this is no stress, is such low stress after all the stealth camping. Okay, just ran into a group that was doing a loop back here. Per them, I'm probably not going to have any major issues with stream crossings east-west. They said one was a little bit iffy further to the south, which is kind of what I figured. But there are certain ones that kind of changed the rules. Sierra Nevada, when I did like the Theodore Solomon Trail, which is the west side John Muir Trail, you go over the Kings in a spot where there is no finding a log or anything else. It's just a big long thing. You gotta wait it and you gotta do late in the season. Otherwise there's no way. Yeah, piece of cake. I don't mind getting my shoes wet, but I would have to do something if my long johns were needing to get into the water. So interestingly enough, a lot of the patches with the worst of the mud, not only are there rocks laid out, but there are alternate paths that go up onto drier ground to the side. Seems like those are more heavily used based on footprints. Oh man, this has me missing the AT. 4 o'clock and I'm pretty much through Dolly Sods, so I'm gonna fill up and just keep going. It's too early to stop. It is a shame because it's been really pretty out here and there were a lot of really comfortable looking campsites, but it also has a lot of foot traffic around here and other backpackers, so onwards and upwards, downwards, whatever words. Okay, well, so much for that, huh? On to the Wildlife Refuge and State Park. Well, that's odd. Almost seems like a jellyfish. So it is 5:40. The temperature dropped again. It never got that high. It looks like I have a state campground in a couple of miles, or if I go a few miles past that, I can get on the Allegheny Trail and probably just find some nice dispersed spot. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards at the moment. There's a subway a short distance up that road, but further than I'm willing to walk. So short thing on this road, which I'm actually on the wrong side of, and then I go through the state park. It's only 6 o'clock, and while I'm cold, I'm not cold enough to spend $38 to stay in a campground with who knows who else, so a few more hours. This is incidentally where the road walk around Dolly Sods seems to come back in for people trying to do it on bikes or such. Okay. I'm just happy it's not raining today, but I'm not going to go too much further, just a couple more miles. Find a nice secure spot. I am looking forward to getting in the sleeping bag and getting warm. Assuming I don't keep making wrong turns like that, that is. Okay, 7:39, found a quiet spot off away from all the trails. It's been over 20 miles. I've done a fair amount of work today, and it is cold, so home sweet home for the night. Feels like I haven't been in my tent for a minute, especially not out, actually camping. It's also supposed to be pretty cold tonight. I think it might get down into the high 20s. This area seems to be a little colder than where I was before. So I've got all my layers on straight off. See, I've just been getting wimpy. I've been inside too much. Good news is I have beans and rice. I was able to do like a good resupply. I even have like extra sharp cheddar. So I actually didn't get to sleep until 11:30 or so, and I kept poor Jerome up because I was mixing these and repackaging food. Normally when I'm in a hotel, I'm not that disciplined. I just crash and then I do it in the morning, but I wanted to make sure we had time to drink coffee, go to breakfast, drink more coffee, all the important things.